Welcome everyone to the Ballercast episode number 5. And on this week's episode, we plan to talk about gameplay issues and gameplay within the game, and also some future content and some content debate. Introducing my guest Tyler.
Hello, hey,
And well, let's just
how we
jump
doing?
straight into it. Our aim is on this podcast, is to really improve the game as much as possible, and it's all really constructive criticism. Um, anyone listening, take that into consideration. We all want the best for this game. All the people playing the game now are fans of the game, and I think Tyler and I have been talking about a few issues with the gameplay that might need some attention uh, in NBA Live 19 and definitely in Live 20.
Yeah, I know we wanted to talk about that. I know you wanted to talk about the mobile game and how they can transfer that
Well, I
into
think, yeah,
live
the
with content
live
and
mobile
stuff.
content is really non-stop, and Ultimate Team content is quite scarce. So be good to talk about that, and then finally we might just do some future content talk and some Finals Game 3 talk. But Tyler, do you want to start us off with some of the gameplay issues you're concerned about?
Yes. Um, there's a few animations and a few things that don't really make sense in this game. Things such as there not being really any baseline or backcourt line in the game. There's like an invisible wall there. It seems like most of the time when you pressure someone back onto that. Um,
Yeah, that is
some of the some
important.
of the
I think
yeah.
I think there's this lack of sidelines sometimes as well. I
Yeah,
get
I
away
could
with a lot
pressure.
of things in this game sometimes. What do you think about those issues with the sideline and baseline kind of game, like stuff where it keeps you in bounds?
Yeah, I don't like it. It doesn't really give you a chance to um not necessarily push someone out of bounds, but have your opponent, the opposing player, to have a chance of going out of bounds. Yeah, I don't really like that. Um, I know it probably doesn't really translate to the game, but I'd still like there to be a bit of realism with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in online gameplay, it might be a little bit tough to if some players are just a little bit, when it's such competitive nature, you want to keep it as realistic as possible. I mean, offline game modes can be different and fun challenges, but I think for online purposes it should be a little bit different.
Mm, yeah.
um what other issues do you have with the gameplay? I know there was something, I think, one of my most annoying things is the inconsistency between rebounding on the offensive and defensive end.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It's very annoying to me. A rebound could come down and your player just stands there as if they've seen nothing. Um, the ball's right there. But the opposing player could swoop in, grab the ball, put it straight back up when you don't even realize it. Um, I I really don't like that. It's very annoying because your player should be able to react and pick up the ball. But
Yeah.
if you press, for example, if I press triangle, it he might just jump straight up into the air and just miss the ball completely. I sometimes try pressing the square button to see if that works. I try press any button, um, mainly triangle, and it just doesn't rebound it some of the time. If it comes down.
Yeah, I think, especially on the offensive glass, the problem with putbacks,
Oh
I
yeah, they
think,
go a different direction. Yeah.
honestly,
Um,
half the time I either get a perfect putback dunk, or the other time I get a putback layup which I miss by about a mile and fumble the
yeah,
ball
yeah,
and it goes out of bounds. And I'm thinking, that can't be too realistic, especially when I'm not contested. I think that's
mm,
a big problem. Half the time I'm not contested at all, and I still somehow manage to fumble the ball or miss a wide open layup. It is very realistic if you go for a putback layup and you're contested and you miss a shot. that happens. That's why everyone doesn't shoot 100% in the NBA. But I think
Mm.
it's a little bit different where you're wide open and somehow, the ball just misses or you fumble the ball and you're kind of left. And by the time you're able to recover it, everyone's back and, crashing the glass. And you've kind of
Yeah,
missed out on
yeah,
your opportunity.
yeah. You have to yeah, with the putbacks, you have to kind of it seems like I have to aim it where it goes. Which
Yeah.
I get, but by the time I aim it, I'm already like aiming with the stick like on a different direction, and it automatically just misses.
Yeah, sometimes look,
Um,
my hands go one way sometimes and on
yeah,
one joystick and the other way on the other. I mean, it's tough to, have to do multiple things. Just like in games like 2K, they used to have. I'm not sure if I think they still have it, where they have the layup meter. It'd be good if maybe there was a shot meter for when you were doing layups for putbacks, so you could know when to release the ball,
yeah. I
and not
think there still is a meter. Yeah,
and not. I
um,
think there might be a meter, but I don't see it, and it'd be
mm,
easier if we could visualize it rather than just guessing, because I feel like
mm.
it is a guessing game half the time.
Yeah. But the one thing I suppose that could counter it is that with the dunks, they kind of they put you into a dunk animation,
Yeah,
which I
but
mean,
that's more like,
I,
oh wow, I accidentally got into a dunk animation and this worked out
yeah, I didn't
perfectly.
have to press anything.
Yeah, it's not like,
Yeah,
oh my, I'm doing this dunk on purpose. It's kind of like they're in the animation of running towards a basket and the AI kind of intuitively grabs the ball and dunks it. I think the part where we're more involved in is the layup animation and the offensive rebound animation into the layup animation, and that's the part I struggle with.
yeah. Well, the next issue, speaking of around the basket, is alley oops.
Yeah.
Um, Look, I get it's realistic to miss some alley oops, but I I double actually I don't actually miss a lot of passes to the alley oops, but when the player jumps up, he grabs it and just doesn't put it into the basket. He grabs it up in the air and then he comes down with it, and then it's straight away because I press square to dunk it in. He'll put it up and sometimes um, miss.
Yeah, well,
So
the layup animations is an issue in itself where half the time you're making incredible layups and the other half the time you're missing wide open layups.
mm,
So I think the alley oops need to be a bit more consistent. I think it's when you're more contested is where the problem is with doing the alley oop.
mm,
Uh, but yeah, I think the alley oop issue and the offensive rebound issue are kind of the same thing in my because they're both catching the ball in the air and going back down. If you get what I'm saying,
yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I
that's
think they
a
might
bit
be
of a problem.
related, like in the same issue in the coding. I mean, I don't know too much about coding. I know enough, but I think it's probably the same kind of issue where in the air it's some form of button or animation we need to do, but I think it's just kind of not as intuitive as it may be for some other people.
Yeah.
And I think
Um.
is there anything else you want to touch on, like the offensive end? I mean, the rebounding, the I think the alley oops is important, but I think offensive rebounding is great in general.
Yeah,
I think
especially if
it's
you've got
very well
a good
balanced.
rebounder. Like yeah, my 6'8" Dennis Rodman can like out rebound. Um, a tall power forward like 6'10", 6'11". Not that much taller, but because he's got a good
Rebound rating.
um. Yeah, if they've got a good rebound rating, they should definitely be able to get it. Um, One more thing before the offensive problem I have is I know with the steals, they give
Oh,
you the arrow. Like I mean, sometimes when you go in for the steal, they give you like a red or no arrow, a no colored arrow or a green arrow.
based on your
Um,
defense.
yeah. I know you didn't really like it when you played it, and you kept getting.
No, I think
Um,
that's a great thing because it can help you stay focused on improving your defense and it'll know. rather than after they shoot the ball, you'll know you're playing good defense before they shoot the ball. But the thing is the constant getting my ankles broken every 3 seconds.
Oh yeah, that's annoying.
That's a
You go
problem.
one way,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think.
don't.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, one small mistake in flicking my joystick one direction, and I'm down for the rest of the play. I think that's a big issue. But I think the steal is great because you shouldn't be getting steals every possession. There's a reason why some people, the top average steals in the league is sometimes only 1.5 per game because like per player because they're meant to be rare. But I
Yeah, but
think
I'm
it's
glad that they actually give you the option of stealing the ball, like with the green arrow. Then there's a chance you can get. Um, and especially if you're on fire, with the little green arrow next to you, meaning you're on fire, you
yeah.
can steal the ball most of the time because you're on fire, so you're better chance of stealing the ball.
I think it's great.
Which I like that. I'm glad it gives you the opportunity to get the get the which is good.
Yeah, I think it's good because it rewards people for playing good on-ball defense, and
Mm,
I
yeah.
think it's important to reward players who play and focus on their defense with steals occasionally. I definitely not every possession, and that's the thing. It's kind of a hard balance where I think it's more so. I think the steal is fine, but especially with the ankle breakers, especially when you're playing against the computer, they just drop me almost every single play. And
Yeah, especially if you go one direction,
and
yeah.
and it's
Mm,
the thing is, even when like I'm versing DeMarcus Cousins or Marcus Gasol, I get dropped by a center, and I'm playing, guarding with my point guard if there's a mismatch, and that should never happen. It's hard enough to get an ankle breaker in the NBA with a point guard, let alone a center. So I think there needs to be adjustments to how many times you get dropped. Like a constant red arrow on defense, maybe, but every time you get a red arrow, you shouldn't have an increased chance to get your ankles broken because every time I play a computer challenge, the AI breaks me nearly every single possession. And that's not an
mm.
exaggeration. Like you've been there while I'm playing, Tyler, and you know that I get like my ankles broken nearly every single defensive play.
Yeah, it doesn't sound true, but it is.
It is, yeah, I know, and
Most of the
we're not
time,
exaggerating it.
sometimes.
We're doing it, for to benefit the game and talk about, the issues in gameplay. And some games, I honestly get my ankles broken 4 to 5 plays back to back, and this just happens all the time. And I think it should maybe happen once or twice a game, not once or twice a possession.
Mm, yeah. Um, I think there was one more offensive issue I wanted to talk about, and not really an issue, but just a tweak in the game. I know last week at the end of last episode, I talked about the shot contest, how they changed that.
That's
Um,
huge. That is
look,
huge. I
um,
think
first
don't
off, I
downplay
want
how
to
big that issue is, Tyler. I think it's a big thing to
yeah.
get right in the game.
First off, I want to get your opinions on the shot meter because do you like the shot bar this year? Because I like it,
I
but it
like it.
can, yeah,
It's a lot better than it was in Live 18.
yeah, definitely.
The hitting jump shots, I don't know if it was just me, but hitting jump shots in Live 18 was a rare occurrence. I could dunk every single play over 15 people if they were on the court, but I could never ever hit shots no matter what kind of card I had, no matter, you know, even in the one I had a pure Steph Curry point guard build with 97 three-pointer. I could barely hit an open shot. Uh, and I think this year the shot meter has improved immensely. There's bigger margins for success. The yellow bar has increased substantially from Live 18, and so
Mm.
has the green bar. But I think it was perfect, and what you're describing recently with your Dirk Nowitzki is that it's kind of reducing the impact height has on jump shots and
Yeah,
contested
well,
shots.
mm, yeah, because last week I said if you had small player like I use an example of Chris Paul, 6 foot. I know he's a good defender,
Mm.
but I used him. There's a foot height difference. You know, I used to be able to shoot over those type of players when I, maybe step back a little bit, got some space, shoot over it. But now I can't really do that as much. I don't have um the freedom of doing that now,
Yeah, I
which
think
it is a bit annoying.
yeah,
Um, the card's not completely useless now, actually, because I mean, what he's known for is his fade away and um,
that's another
obviously his
issue in
great
itself
shooting as well.
because fadeaway, I feel like before the update a week or two ago was very, very difficult, and
Mm,
and before contested shots were quite easy, and it's kind of been reversed now. And I think contested shots should be tough, depending on the player, obviously. But
mm.
I think height should definitely play a part into the shots you make. I know it's
Yeah, especially
probably
if the
difficult to
opposing.
do. Like,
Yeah,
coding that into a game probably isn't easy, but it's something you probably need to take into account.
yeah. Especially if the opposing player is like not a great defender, but they can still impact. Like it can still not give you great yellow bar at the top.
Yeah,
Um, but if I'm shooting the ball and there's no one really around me, that's great. And before this, I used to get the green bar and it used to stay there. But once there's a slight hand like within a meter, it instantly just doesn't turn to green. I can still get to the top of the bar, which is great, but it doesn't go in some of the time, even if they have a great 3 pointer. Like, um,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I think that is a problem. I mean, it's realistic and it's also not realistic. Um, I think they came to a good balance between post play and shooting, but height definitely needs to play a factor as well as the person's defensive ability. Like, let's say I'm Steph Curry, it's going to be different shooting over Chris Paul than it is shooting over Damian Lillard. Even though
mm,
Damian Lillard is taller, he's not as good as a defender as Chris Paul, even though Chris Paul
yeah,
is
same
shorter.
height, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I think if you get more space, then you should get more of a higher bar because, Dame Lillard's not a great defender, but if you have an Eric Bledsoe or Chris Paul as your defender, well, then obviously shouldn't give you that high of a yellow bar, which
100%. And especially if you're getting guarded out of position, if a small forward or a shooting guard's marking you, you should probably have even less margin for error. Like, say, Clay Thompson switches on you or something, you should never make that shot. But if, like, a power forward switches onto you or a center, I think you should make that shot even more because they're slower and their contests are slower, and it should give you more time to shoot over them, if you get what I'm saying.
yeah, agree. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the issues with the defenders as well is I don't know if many people use this move. I certainly love to use this a lot, especially with my 95 LeBron James. But the step back, I find, is a bit of a cheesy move with
It
him
is.
because every time, if I'm mismatched on a power forward, you can easily just step back, break his ankles, um, and green light it, or at least make it, definitely. But with point guards on point guards, with my 97 Dame Lillard, if I'm on a bad defending point guard, I can't really step. I can step back, but I can't really get a good yellow bar. It's so narrow the yellow bar and it just annoys the hell out of me. Whereas as before, it would give me more of a yellow bar. Um,
Yeah, I get what you're
but
saying. I think
yeah,
it's just, it's small details in the defense that will make the biggest difference, and those small details will just make the game so much more realistic, but it'll also make the game very fun as well because shooting jump shots over people who are 7 foot tall as a quick shooting point guard like Steph Curry is very, very satisfying. but also playing
Yeah.
great defense and blocking, Steph Curry as a good defending point guard is also just as good. And a lot of my ability to block shots on the defensive end is taken away from the amount of times I get my ankles broken. And, once I get my ankles broken, I can't recover from that shot. I can't get back up and block the shot because I'm still on the floor. So I
Mm,
think there just has to be fine tuning, small details, and I think we can get both the offense and defensive gameplay much more realistic. And I
mm,
think besides from that, everything's great. The keep the shot meter as it is having a small margin for green. Getting a green bar is great. That's how it should be,
mm.
and having a bigger margin for yellow, slightly contested or slightly off balance shots is perfect as well, because we've seen players like Curry and and others who can shoot ridiculous, like Clay, Dame, CJ, all defy the people contesting them, uh any position guarding them. So I think
Yeah, and
it's
I get the realism as well with the step back where you can't get a good yellow bar, and I like it. I like it mixed with um some realistic um actions in the game,
yeah.
and that's great. Um they need to put some consistency into this game. If they can get slightly better at this with the gameplay, then they should be right for Live 20.
I think it's just small tweaks and it'll make everything like really, really nice. And it's just really small things. And if they slowly, gradually test it out in NBA Live 19, keep putting out small patch. And I know it's hard to put out patches when the developers are most likely focusing on Live 20, but these patches can also be used for Live 20. All the details and the information gathered from these patches can be used in Live 20. So it's a good way to test out your new gameplay for the game. And as if Live 20 drops with barely any mistakes and bugs, the game's just going to go crazy. I think it's going to do very well because we all know how live Nick 2K drops with a million bugs day one because no one ever play tests the game. I think it's going to be great for Live 20 as a franchise. And I think we've kind of covered everything on gameplay wise. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah,
I think they're really well overall balanced game, much better than NBA Live 18. Just a few small tweaks.
yeah, yeah. We've covered all the issues mainly.
I don't think there's anything else that's really big. I mean, and they're not big issues. Like uh it's not huge issues. I do like the fact that you don't make every single layup that's real, and then making the tough contested layups is very satisfying in a game like this where you're making a circus shot over some people. That's great. There's a good balance between realism and fun, uh, which a lot of games seem to forget because games are entertainment, not VR and life simulator games. So
Yeah, I do want to add that um, it's not an issue with the gameplay, but I just think it's very annoying. The commentary is getting it's really getting into my head.
yeah,
It's it's literally giving me headaches all the time listening to Jay Williams like stupid stories. Yeah, you hate it. I hate it. I mean, I don't. It's not the biggest thing, so that's why I'm not going to cover it too much. But I just wanted to point out that it's it's not really the greatest commentary. Some of the
yeah.
stuff
I
they do,
think
they record the lines of.
the commentary has to be more diverse in Live 20, or maybe more focused on the game and less commentary and off topic chat that distracts you from the
Yeah.
game. I'm much more
Mm.
happy with commentators just saying Curry scores, Kawhi scores, rather than
Oh, what a
having
great dunk!
yeah,
Or
or
what
having
a
rather than having
3 pointer.
Jay Williams talk about his somewhat of an NBA career. Uh, I think it's much more important to focus on the game, I love stories here and there, but it's very repetitive, especially when you're doing a long game, and and Jay Williams doesn't have much, complexity in his dialogue.
Yeah,
And I
some of
think,
these lines can get quite cringy as well. I think.
or the ability to just shut off commentary for anything besides gameplay would
Mm,
be an awesome
yes.
feature as well for people who've heard every possible you know topic that Jay Williams talks about, because there really aren't that many. The amount of times I've heard the five fingers fist thing is ridiculous. Uh, but I think that's great. That's not to do with gameplay. That's
Yeah,
more
yeah,
of
like I said, yeah.
a luxury thing. But honestly, the most important thing about a basketball game is gameplay. Everything else comes second. And speaking about things that come second, well, we're going to talk about content. And I think content is a major thing in Ultimate Team. Without content, there's no such thing as Ultimate Team. Uh,
Mm.
we need to then there needs to be a focus on consistent content, not constant content. Consistent content, weekly promos for the whole year, recurring promos where you try and get 100 overall Joel Embiid by the end of the year, with a lot of challenges, or halfway through the year. Um,
Well, yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah, definitely. As you were saying earlier with NBA Live Mobile, you were trying to take that as a comparison
oh,
um,
100%. I think,
to translate to this game on console.
well, the
So,
reason I'm comparing these two games is because they're both made by EA, and they're both
yeah.
sports games. They're both basketball games, and Live Mobile is pretty much a mirror image of Ultimate Team. There's no career mode, nothing, and I think that game is very, very successful, and it's because of the constant content. Now, I don't want at the moment there's 3 promos going on. That's a bit too much, but even one promo going on at all times is great. Like, if we had these playoff, like for example, if we had with these playoff cards, if we had a historic playoffs promo where every week they drop two or three more new historic playoff moment cards from Allen Iverson stepping over. Was it who did he step over?
Tyron Lue. Yeah.
Tyronn Lue, and Shaq and Kobe and all these historic guys. If they did that and released a new card, three new cards in packs, and play one challenge, and you get a chance at pulling one of the cards from the new content, that'd be fun. And then on top of that, they release the brand new playoff round 2, 3, 4 content, and that's just something in the background while we're waiting for the new playoff cards to do. And Live Mobile right now has 3 promos going on, and even QJB, one of my favorite content creators, just with his enthusiasm and love for the games he plays. He he's
Yeah, got
he's
a
he's
series or
featured
something,
in the
was it?
game. He's
Yeah.
featured as a creator, and I know he's got the EA Game Changer affiliation with EA, but having some way to incorporate some of the top players in the game. I know that happens through the weekly, the squad challenges and the community challenges, but maybe increasing the rewards, or you know if you complete all the community challenges, you get a special community card each week. Some like consistent content that isn't too difficult but keeps the game going. I mean, there's never ending content and grinding on Live Mobile. That's too much, and people have hated that in NBA Live 19 with the
Mm.
never-ending grind of the 92 Shack and the 90 Shack. And I think a balance between, you know, constant content and consistent content needs to be achieved.
Well, what would you say is the longest thing to grind in mobile? Because I know by like 2 country miles, in Live 19 on the console, it's like the seasons. Um, it's it's so much work. It's so many
Well,
hours put into this
I
game.
think,
What's the longest thing to grind on um, NBA Live Mobile? You
well,
reckon?
there's no season-long grind really. Every promo lasts for about 2 weeks, and
Yeah, which is good
you can
because yeah,
grind to get those cards. There's historic players that you can get tokens up from the very first day of playing and unlock 100 overall cards, but that kind of becomes irrelevant at the end of the year when there's so many good cards consistently coming out. so which should be reflected in live Ultimate Team. And I think 4 days ago a promo came out or less, and it gave you I think a 92 overall LeBron James, and I've already upgraded him to 103 overall without spending any money, anything, just playing a couple times a day, barely putting any effort in, and I've still been getting consistent upgrades and consistent content.
Yeah. And I I would like on the way to getting the players um, at the end of the each season, each team of the season. I would like along the way to get packs for maybe each game, just a standard
Well,
live
I
pack,
think,
maybe. I
every
know
pack.
in
Well, what if they have
season
special
4 they have.
packs, special packs for each team? Like, let's say if you complete the season for the Atlanta Hawks, you get a guaranteed pack with an 85 plus overall Atlanta Hawk player in it.
Well, right now it's the team leaders, and I get that. Yeah, you can include the team leaders as well, because I know you need them for what is it, like the playoffs and then the finals, on the way to getting a shack, but also include other stuff like what you said with like maybe an 85 plus maybe. But I know in season 4 you get like a special program pack where it's like an 80 overall plus guaranteed with a chance of like 88s, 85s.
But at this
It
time
tells
of
you
the year,
percentages.
that does nothing. And by the time most people get to those seasons, it really doesn't add to your team because it's such a long grind. So
Yeah, true.
I
Yeah.
think a more of a reasonable grinding process, and less grinding, better rewards, and even if the rewards are only 85 overall players, let the challenges be done in the first couple months the game is out, and then after the first couple months those 85 players won't be, they'll be redundant per se, and except for new players, and you can start putting out, more content and more promo packs with better cards, and people will
Mm.
want to buy it and spend money, just like
Well,
2K
yeah,
with their
yeah.
domination mode. You finish it, you get a really good card at the end, and they only last you for a couple months until better and better and better and better cards come out, and you need to improve your team.
Yeah, well, with season 4, that came out, what was it, like maybe a month or two ago, maybe, or 2 months ago. And by then, when someone's gotten a program pack by then, it's not really worth it. Like, you might get, I know I got 293s in a row, and that's great, but now they're not, they're still worth like good amount of coins. But it just gets, that's good. That's very rare though, so it's not going to give you the greatest cards, and you just don't need those cards at this stage. So I think they need to up the card ratings you get out of these packs, uh,
Yeah,
and that would be a great thing going forward for Live 20 if they can get better rewards for stuff.
I agree
I know they did
completely, bro.
things differently. They did things way different in Live 18. There were no seasons. I think there were just
Look,
promos that you would just go for and trial for a card. Um, and I know for the promos, they're really good. Like, if you get like the cards for the promos are really good. They're definitely worth doing. I like the promos a lot. When they come out, it's great, but they just don't come out consistently. Like,
that's what
we've
I
had to
think.
wait like 5 days for playoffs round 3 and 2, and like a week and a bit for rounds 1 playoff cards, and I just don't like that. But and talking about the consistency, when the Christmas cards came out, they actually came out, I think, even before Christmas started, so that's great. But if you take these two timelines, well, then you can see where the problem is with the consistency.
100%. I think that w- rather than having game long grinds that become outdated very quickly towards this time of the year and really disincentivize a lot of players, I think they should have promo grinds. So every time they release a promo, have for that promo each day or each week, put in these challenges, and you complete these challenges, you get a guaranteed promo card. That way,
Yeah.
people will love to play the game, they get a good reward at the end of it, and if they want more, they can go and buy packs.
Mm. And when, if by the time it gets to this stage of the game, it's June right now. Um, I've seen some people like just completed season 2, and I even saw one person complete season 1. It's just that much of a grind for this
Yeah,
for these cards.
it's a
Like,
bit too much to ask for a 90 overall card when 90 overall cards are coming out every few days now with the playoff content.
mm. And I don't think I've seen anybody actually have the season 3 or season 4 Magic and Lakers Shacks.
Mm.
Uh, and by then, like, if you have like the 95 Shack, well then there's better cards out there. There's a 96 overall center out by then, or 97 center out by then. And you're thinking, well, it was worth getting the player, but he's probably may not even make he'll probably make my starting lineup, but maybe not for long.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's release that type of content at the beginning of the year so it becomes outdated and people need to grind and it's attainable by most players. It shouldn't be for players who spend all day every day on the game. It should be for most regular players because I know it's very disheartening playing a game and never being able to reach the end rewards if you don't have all that time on your hands. People have lives, people have things to do, and I think making attainable goals is the most important thing for keeping people playing your game. If you can't
well,
reach the best card, why would you want to play?
hmm, yeah, well, yeah, like, I don't really do much else in life. In apart, like, I don't have a job or anything.
But that's just
So
for
I mean,
now.
I have time on
Circumstances
my hands,
change.
but even then, I just get tired of it
Yeah,
sometimes.
even with unlimited time, it's still tough to do.
Mm, yeah. I think we've covered all the issues with, first of all, gameplay, and now with the content with that. Last thing we should talk about probably is the game, three final game.
Yeah, just a quick touch on Game 3 of the finals. I think by the time this episode comes out, Game 4 might have already happened, but
Yeah, I think it happens in like
two
what, like
days or
2 days, I
3 days.
think. Yeah.
I think I can, from what it looks like now, start preparing yourself for a Steph Curry, a Draymond Green, a Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala. At the moment, Kevin Durant hasn't played a game; he can't get a card. And then on the
Well, you should prepare for Raptors cards as well
oh,
because they'll come
100%.
out as
I'm
well.
I'm
Because
hitting on
like
that
in the
next,
season,
baby. I
mm,
think prepare yourself for a Kawhi Leonard, and then prepare yourself
Marc
for a
Gasol,
really nice Kyle Lowry if we're judging anything
Pascal Siakam
of
is going to
Game
be really
3.
good
I think
defensive. Great 3D card.
I think
Um,
they could even release 5 cards for the Raptors. We need a Fred Van Vliet. He's just being great. We need a Siakam. We need a Gasol. We need a Kawhi. We maybe even need an Ibaka, and also maybe even who am I missing? Maybe even Danny Green
Danny Green, yeah,
after his historic
maybe, yeah.
performance today. I mean, there's so many good Raptors
Historic.
players. Well, yeah, he moved up on the all-time three-point list quite a
Oh,
lot
did he?
today. Yeah,
Okay.
for the finals. I think he moved up quite a lot. I think from like 11th place to 8th or 7th.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so he did put in technically a historic performance, and I think we with the Raptors, this bench and players are so deep, we could see so many great cards, and it'd be really sad to limit them to just 4 because there's been so many great performances over the playoffs from all the players on the team.
And especially the team who wins the championship, give them more cards. Like, you don't want to keep them at the same level as the teams who lost. That just, I don't think that's fair. I think you need to add one or two more cards. Certainly, at least one more.
Yeah, I think
But
you should
definitely two would be more. Would be good.
celebrate almost every single player on that team because without all of them, they wouldn't have won the finals. So I think the Raptors definitely will give us better cards, and I really do hope they win for the sake of Ultimate Team. Um, but
and the sake of the NBA as well, because
yeah,
I
for
saw a
this,
graphic of like the entire American map being like um, the whole of America in red with the Raptors logo, and then the small part of San Francisco and the Bay Area being like yellow with um,
oh, you should have.
what do you
The
call it, the
cheers for the
rose.
Raptors at Oracle Arena was incredible. Um, like every time they scored, every time Kawhi hit a amazing, like he's just such a good player. It baffles me every single time he touches the ball.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely best two-way player, but best player in the NBA right now, I
Best player in
think.
the NBA. I think he deserves a lot of credit, and I think it was crazy the amount of support the Raptors were getting in Oracle Arena, and I think their whole team just deserves a whole promo even to themselves. They've been such a good team.
Yeah, I think the series. I don't think it will end in five. I think if the Raptors are the winner, I think it will end in maybe six.
I hope, man, for the whole NBA, I hope the Raptors win, um, because it's going to be better for basketball as a sport in general. We might be able to watch actual competitive games and competitive seasons. Um, so, I mean, because they're not going to be able to keep all these players in the off season. The Warriors, the dynasty's coming to an end this year. So,
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to keep Demarcus.
how can you keep DeMarcus, KD, Clay, and Draymond? You can't. They're all supermax. Oh, they're all supermax players.
well, you can keep. Uh,
Unless
I
they all
think
sign
they'll hold on to
minimum contracts. But I
they'll
don't
hold
think.
on to Draymond and Curry. I
And
don't know
Clay.
about Clay. Clay probably. Yeah, Clay will probably still re-sign. There's been talks maybe he'll go to his own team.
I don't think
But
Clay
with the
will work on
rest,
his own team. He's not that good of a basketball player. Um, he's a
really,
great. He fits. Yeah, I mean, the reason why he does so well is because he's surrounded by 15 other all-star players and he's always left wide open because five people are trying to guard Steph Curry. I
well,
mean,
he's a great defender and a great
he
three-point shooter.
is,
He
but
can't really finish that much.
if he has to create his own shot every single time, I don't see him being as efficient.
Yeah,
He and that game he scored the 37-point quarter. It was all catch and shoot. None of it was done,
yeah,
by him. So
coming off screens as well.
exactly,
Like
if he has to run
that's
his
his
own
main game,
team, he just won't be as efficient. And I'm sorry to any butt hurt Clay Thompson fan, but he just won't be as
including me
efficient.
actually.
Well, I love Clay Thompson as a
Yeah, I
player.
know. Me
He's
too.
a great system player under the Warriors. He's just he's not. I don't think he's a team a franchise player. Steph Curry's a
Yeah,
franchise player.
he would need a great facilitator as well. Like
Yeah, he'd need like a John
mm,
Stockton or something, like
yeah.
or Chris Paul to be effective.
But I
Um,
mean, Chris Paul's already got his scorer to facilitate in James Harden, so I
I
mean
know.
that's working
I
out
mean,
fine.
I'd prefer Clay Thompson doesn't play dirty, doesn't flop, doesn't travel. But I can see Chris Paul's having a pretty good time over there.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think of the performances from the games today? I think first off with the Raptors, I think Kawhi had a great performance for 30 odd points.
He had 30
I think
points, 7
yeah,
rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks and 2 steals, or 2 blocks, no, and 2 blocks or 3 steals. I think he's just shows how much of an amazing player he is. And the funny thing was, it felt like a quiet night from him, and he still was a top scorer for the Raptors. So his
mm,
team, it's Kawhi Leonard as well, but his team's just being so great as well.
mm.
I think
I think yeah,
he's just done so well. His team's just really helped him. Freed up this floor. If none of his team was performing like they were, they would just not. Kawhi Leonard wouldn't be able to drop 30 points quietly and not. And he's resting, and He's letting other players score. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. I think Lowry had a really consistent game. That was a really good game for him. 23 points, 9 assists. Um, 50% from the field, 5 for 9 for three. Like he had a really good game. Played 43 minutes, so he played the most minutes. Ahead of Kawhi. I think he had a really consistent game, actually, which is good for him
Yeah,
because
it's
I think,
good because he gets a bad rep in playoffs.
yeah, I think Siakam had another nice game. 18 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists.
The
That's
thing is,
really good.
everyone had great games, and that's why
Yeah, yeah,
I'm advocating for us to all get multiple Raptors players. Uh,
yeah. All these players had great games, like 18, 17, 11. Buck only had 6, but he had 6 blocks. Like that's huge.
the NBA
Like
Live Mobile just dropped the player of the game, which they do after every game, which was a Kyle Lowry moments card. I mean, just little things like that is just keeping the content going and wanting people to open packs. Uh, so it's just great, I think it's good. I mean, if they did some stuff like dropping, throwback historic players and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of potential, and just a few minor steps in gameplay and content in this game will be incredible. And
yeah,
I think the finals is going well. We can't speculate too much, but I think everything's going great, and the game's still kicking and going moving forward. And I think every week we're just going to aim to improve the game.
yeah, yeah. Just one touch up on the finals. I think Curry had a magnificent game, 47 points.
Yeah.
Everybody else wasn't that great. Like Demarcus, like 1 for 7, wasn't that great, but he's coming back from injury, which I suppose is um his only excuse. But everybody, not really much to talk about. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, Iggy hit a few threes, um, stuff like that, but it was a very boring game watching Steph Curry just carry the whole team, uh, and watch Draymond and Andre hit a couple threes, and then the rest of the team just kind of. And I mean, I feel like the role players did more than majority of the starters, so it was crazy. Uh,
mm.
really, really crazy.
I think that. What are we on?
I think, I think, I think we've talked about everything. I think I'm ready to wrap up. There's not
Yeah,
too
me
much. There's
too. I
not too
think
much
you've.
else to talk about. We'll try and keep it short and sweet. We've got to keep this podcast going, even when there's no more content coming out. We've got to keep it
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
and I think we'll just try and limit the topics we talk about, and try and make sure the content is consistent. Uh,
yeah.
and I think that's
I
pretty much
think our
it.
next episode will be, talking about so not round 4, the finals, playoffs cards. If they come out, we don't know when they'll come out.
Well, it
So,
depends when the series ends. I mean, by the time we record
yeah,
next episode, I don't think the cards will be out at all. I think it'll be maybe 2 weeks down the line when after this episode comes out, the cards will be out. So
yeah. So there might be one more episode in between, maybe.
yeah, we're gonna try and talk
So
about. I think we might do a special episode on. Maybe do something fun. I've got some stuff in the back of my mind, but aside from that, I think it's time to wrap it up. Anything?
yeah.
Any last words, Tyler?
No, I think just comment down below maybe when what we should give us some ideas
Yeah,
on
if
what we
you made
should.
it this far, let us know down below, and comment on what you'd like to hear. And if you have any suggestions for NBA Live 20, comment them down below, and we'll
Yep.
talk about it in
Yeah.
next week's episode. Until
Yep.
then, everyone,
Wraps it up.
peace.
Peace.